we have a quorum? Yes, we do. All right, on to any public comments. Does anybody have a public comment? Any public comments? No? All right, we're going to go to approval of the minutes. We get some approval on the minutes? Okay, you move. Second? All in favor? Okay, no opposed. Let's move on to employee of the month, Mr. Walker.
Yes, our employee of the month is not here today with us, but her name is Debbie Mashburn. And Debbie Mashburn, the person who nominated her, said Debbie is a great asset to Weems. As you all know, Debbie was once the supervisor of admissions and retired, but she is dedicated to Weems, and she stayed as a PRN to help us with EMS claims. And Debbie found out that her department needed payroll rep. She stepped up. She's an employee. The organization is grateful to have. When I think of Debbie, I think of a two-team player. I can go on and on. Debbie is an awesome individual, awesome co-worker. So Debbie Mashburn retired, she came back, and so we're so grateful to have her working with us. She was nominated by her peers. Debbie Mashburn works in our finance department. Also, I want to just make a quick announcement. Franklin County School had the award ceremony the other night, and graduation is tonight, so people make the graduation at 6 o'clock. Please do. We had a George E. Weems Memorial Hospital Scholarship. And we changed that scholarship in honor of Doug Kramer. Doug Kramer was a hospital board chairman for a number of years. This year winner was Krista Burns. Krista is an 18-year-old Franklin High School student planning to attend Florida State College, 4.1 GPA. And her goal is to major in medicine, but one day open up a dermatology clinic right here in the county here. So Krista got a lot of different awards that night, but we're so happy to make sure that we can help somebody here in our community. I am finished, and we have the next person.
Thank you. We're going to change up the alignment here on the agenda. Colleen Zester, you're going to come up and give the presentation on the foundation.
Quick update.
One of those.
Summer is upon us, so we're really going to start getting active in our promotion and our activities in town. On the sheet that you just received on side 1 is just a reminder of the 3 key activities that we have going on. Last year we were present and we sponsored a booth at the July 3rd event. We're doing that again. We're basically partnering with a young woman and her husband who own a lemonade shop, a business, out of Georgia. It's called Weems Lemonade. They're just a lovely couple. We're coming in for the whole weekend. It's a good opportunity for us to interact with the community, help her out, but also raise a little awareness about the upcoming event and our organization. In the center, that's our primary event. Last year we had our 65th anniversary gala, which you know was very successful. This year we changed the format a little bit. The interest the buzz is starting. We've got a banner up here out front of the hospital. This weekend we're going to be installing one at the main intersection, and we've got feet on the street pushing information out. What Mr. Zester should have also passed around to you is this little sticker. If you are willing and able, it's a clear back sticker, so I have mine on the windshield of my golf cart, so when I'm driving around town, if people ask about it, I tell them what I can, but then I encourage them to scan the QR code. It takes them right to the site and buy tickets right there, or come back. So if you would be willing and able to do that, that would be great. The other thing is still looking for people to help us generate interest in the event just by word of mouth, but also donations for an online silent auction. So last year we did a silent auction with physical, tangible items that it was very cumbersome to set the event up or break it down. We were successful, but this year we're thinking, for example, I was speaking with someone yesterday in the media, and she has a connection to a performing group out of Tallahassee, and they're going to give us, their donation is going to be a set of tickets for upcoming events. So those kind of things we can put on an online auction. Just, if you hear of anybody interested in getting involved in that way, send them my way. Also, always looking for people who are interested in helping to plan the event. So all of that information you can find by scanning the QR code. The last thing on that side then is, I mentioned last time that we initiated what we're calling a more to do. It's really a capital campaign drive. myself and Bill and others have been talking with people in and around the county. We actually have 3, possibly 4 dinners set up with potential donors to the annual campaign. So more to come on that. That information can also be found by scanning the QR code. The last thing I wanted to share with you, pretty exciting. As you can tell, we're continuing to expand our contact with people in the county and the town. And a perfect example of that is if you flip it over on June 12th, which is just a couple of weeks away now. I happened to be on our Facebook page and I came across a post by this young woman named Lexi Bresnan. She was actually born here on June 8th in 2000, so she's celebrating her 25th birthday this year. Every year, she was born 6.5 weeks early, so her parents brought her here. And the 6 people who have continued to annually come back and visit Franklin County every year for summer vacation, they're all going to be back here this year to celebrate her big birthday. And with the help of Mr. Walker and others, we've set up a little breakfast meet and greet, and then we're going to give her a tour. She's really excited to be back. So would encourage you all, if you're available that day, to come and join. Through Christy Terry, we're hoping we'll get a little bit of media here. Again, it's just a connection back to our history. These are people who think fondly of Weems because, excuse me, we were here when they needed us. So, any questions? No? Oh, one thing on that, I am putting together, the foundation is putting together sort of a welcome home gift basket. So I've started talking with some businesses and people in town to say, you know, she's coming back to Appalach. They come back every year, but what could we send them home with? So I think we're going to have a couple things here from the hospital. The Gibson in town is going to give us a couple of hats and maybe some drink vouchers. So if you think of anything.
So we can make a basket from the shop.
That'd be our, or if you want to contribute to the
Sure,
basket?
sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe we'll connect offline for something. Wonderful.
One thing about this also is that this going to correlate with the training that we just had with University of South Florida Health. They came and did an OB training with our EMS staff and our nurses. So we'll write a press release with that. University of South Florida already did a release. They also have a video, you know, what was going on with the training with the staff here, simulation training. So we'll probably put all that together to go along with this. This is a story of a person coming in the ED 25 years ago.
25 years.
You know, to have a baby here.
Yeah.
And so we occasionally get that.
Yeah, I mean, she shared candidly that what her dad remembers is that we didn't have a fetal heartbeat monitor at that time, but they remember fondly the nurse. I was like, name? I don't remember her name, but the nurse who had just finished doing some OB rounds and said, you know, we were very helpful to them in their moment of need. So it's a really nice opportunity. Okay.
Thank you, Colleen. I think it's a great PR opportunity for the hospital to get behind and show a good story, a true story that happened 25 years ago. So, and that we're still celebrating and we care. All right, next up, David Owen, for financial report.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I ask, just make a comment before we go through to David's report? I know the minutes were approved, but this is about the second or third time I've noticed it. I don't think we discussed the multi-view system in detail. And whoever's doing the minutes, the in detail portion needs to be, say, we discussed it, but we didn't get down into the nitty gritty of it, okay? Because I don't want to come up and later on in a situation legally that says, hey, you guys knew about it in detail. Follow me?
I do, I understand. Valid point. I think this is the summary of the notes, right? David,
Yeah.
don't you summarize the notes?
We can have, well, we can do that. The only reason why maybe detail, because there was a lot of discussion.
There's a lot of
Discussion.
discussion, but not in detail.
Okay, well, we can put in there was, next time, multiple discussion on it, you know.
Sort of make it broad,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It's a broad brush rather than in detail.
Thank you for that, Mr. Barry.
Good morning, everyone. We should have in your packet the April 2025 financial results for the hospital. That's what I'll discuss and walk through. So looking at the overall net performance in the hospital for the month of April, When you look at how the hospital finished, the hospital did finish the month of April, did beat budget for the month of April, and did beat, outperform the prior year results as well. So just walking through some key drivers behind that as what contributed to that performance for the hospital as far as exceeding budget and outperforming the prior year. You know, revenues were up for the organization as compared to budget and compared to the prior year as well. A lot of the revenue drivers were the impact from inpatient services. Our inpatient acute services were up, as well as the swing bed program that did generate additional revenues. The ancillary revenues associated with that inpatient activity also contributed to that as well. We did experience, though, within the performance, we did experience declines, though, from budget for outpatient-related services. We did see lesser activity from the ER, and we did see lesser pharmacies and lab, or pharmaceuticals and lab as a result of that as well. Our rural health clinics combined did slightly finish below budget as well, just approximately $6,000, so just slightly below budget from a revenue standpoint, and our EMS did finish slightly below budget as well from a revenue standpoint. But again, overall, when you look at combined consolidated for the organization, revenue was up over budget and up over the prior year. From an expenditure standpoint, we did see expenditures exceeding budget, about $43,000 within salaries specifically. That was a result of the areas of med-surg, EMS, and respiratory. We did see additional med-surg needs, as I mentioned earlier, with our inpatient activity up versus budget and prior year. We did experience additional costs within the med-surg area. Again, revenue, though, was up in those areas as well. Also, when you look at broken out inside the financials, again, we're continuing to not only break out EMS, breaking out the rural health clinics, we are continuing to look to expand the breakout to the departments as well and provide their reports. I know that was just a lot of those from Samantha were just issued yesterday as well, but we're continuing to fine tune and distribute to the department leaders their reports as well. You don't see it in your packet, but we are providing those to the department leaders now as well. When you look at specifically within EMS, and I'm going to move to EMS and talk about their financial statement just for a moment. When you look at, as I mentioned earlier, the revenue was below budget by just slightly below budget by $7,000. But the operating expenses did exceed budget by just under $4,000. Salaries within EMS did exceed budget by just over $5,000. And when you look at from a fiscal year to date standpoint, the 7 months of our fiscal year, our total operating expenses within EMS are exceeding budget by just under $70,000, right at $69,000. And the vast majority of that excess is in salaries. And salaries are up over budget by $68,000. Again, within the clinics, I want to specifically talk about the 2 clinics, and because those are broken out in your financials as well. The West did miss budget. As I mentioned earlier, both clinics combined did miss budget from a revenue standpoint. Did see some lesser activity within the clinics for the month of April. When you look at the West did miss by $12,000. Revenues were below by 7, and our expenses were up within the West approximately $5,000. You look at East very similar. Missed budget just slightly, about $2,000 overall. Our revenues there were just under or right at budget as far as a variance standpoint. Our expenditures within East did exceed budget by just under $4,000. So again, those are broken out specifically so that we can see and track the performance of each of our clinics here for the organization. Also within the packet, we do continue to share and trend, key financial indicators, operating indicators. I'm not going to go into specifics in those. We'll address any questions as it pertains to those as needed. But I did want to share too with the board that one of the things, and this is something that we've talked about previously. This is discussions we've had post the Baker Tilly report out to the county. We have put together a packet, we call it Ops Excellence, Operational Excellence, where, we want, obviously Weems to be performing at best practice within every KPI. And so what we have put together is called an Operational Excellence package. I will plan to bring that to the board next month and present that as well. And what's inside of that are all of the areas that we have discussed previously as it pertains to the Baker-Tilly report, as well as some other activity that we want to share with the board on an ongoing basis. And I'll briefly just run through those real quickly, Mr. Chairman, just to share with the board and others what we are specifically focused on. But again, I touched on it a little earlier, but we are developing those departmental operations reports. That was going to be a piece of information that can be provided through the multi-view application. I think we saw that demonstration last month when we did review that. But we are going ahead and issuing those reports outside of multi-view. Obviously, we're not contracted with them yet, but we're issuing those reports internally. It takes a lot of internal work to do this, but we are going ahead and being proactive in getting that information out to the leadership team. We're also addressing labor productivity and monitoring and developing a tool for labor productivity that can be used house-wide for every department leader. Again, that compares every department to an industry standard as far as the productivity or the amount of work that's being produced within a particular department. They'll have a tool to be able to measure their department, compare their department by. It'll help focus on overtime and the overtime needs and driving on those exposure in those areas. We've already jumped ahead and reported EMS separately. You see that reported separately now. We are evaluating within the rural health plans. We are evaluating, specifically over in Carabel, looking at some options there, potentially expanding care that we provided within Carabel.
Yeah. One of the things we're looking at, see, can we do extended hours in Carabel? Many of you probably don't remember when the county entered into an interlocal agreement, with the city of Apalachicola, the city of Carabel, about sales tax. One of the things for the city of Apalachicola would be that you would build a new facility. One of the things for Carabel, you would add an urgent care center kind of deal. So we're looking at how can we look at the clinic and probably extend those hours, after hours, and as well as look at some weekend hours as well, because there's nothing else in Carabel. That's it. So we're looking at, we want to make sure we look at the clinic model that we have. Maybe the RHC model is not going to work in Carabel. Maybe we need to look at the clinic model to see can we extend those hours, after 5 o'clock, and then have, maybe half-day weekend hours for them, but at least move in that area. So we'll do an evaluation of that because we really want to begin to bring as many services as we can on that other end of the county, just to be honest with you.
Well, I assume that,
Yeah.
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 I assume that that's really based on our ability to get staffing for that facility,
Yeah.
number one. And number two, I would like to see the 340B program extended and have a pharmacy over there, but that's obviously dependent on us keeping our CAH status, critical access hospital status, and I know that's under consideration. I wanted to put it back on you. The Baker-Tilly report had really indicated that it might be better for the hospital to go to the REH program because we were going to get the federal grant and we were going to have another $340,000 in our pocket at the end of the day. But I argue that, and I put this presentation out there yesterday to Team Franklin, where we had a couple of people on the board, Sward and some others, that what they didn't take into account was that we lose the swing bed, we lose the 340B, we couldn't put a pharmacy in Carabel. With the swing beds, we've been improving our participation in that program, and $340,000, if we make just under $6,000 a day for a patient that we have here, and we can keep them here for 21 days if they needed 21 days, that's $125,000 right there. So so we'd be losing services that we can provide to the county and to the people here, and for a $340 gain, I think it's not worth the gain. I mean, if they said it was $1 million gain, maybe it's worth it, but $340,000, I think if the swing bed program continues to improve as it has, I think we're going to be either equal to or better than the federal grant.
You know,
And I think we have to make that, pitch to the BOCC, because I don't want to see it change.
Well, and I'll just add to that, when you look at, even from the audit, right, when the audit was completed, you look at the increase in revenues for the organization, and, the net patient revenue, again, that's revenue that's generated from services that are provided, right, to the patients here at the hospital. When you look at just last year alone, of course, the increased net patient service revenue was due to, this is stated in the audit, was a 20% increase in swing bed days.
Right, so if that continues to grow,
That's right.
it's gonna outpace the federal grant, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Well, and what goes away, you're right, so net impact. But, but to David's point and what we mentioned about Carabel, we are looking at different models. I mean, it is an RHC today, and I know I explained that even at the county commission meeting as well. It is a rural health clinic today, but there may be opportunities, and we're evaluating this, to where, does it make sense to do something outside, or do we still need to be a rural health clinic, and or do we become something more there? So we're evaluating that. We have a team that's going to be dedicated to that, and we're working on it now.
Is there a deadline on when you have to make that designation or not?
No, there's no deadline on REH designation, unless the federal government changes it. But right now, there's no deadline. You have about 38 hospitals, rural hospitals, that have split that designation. We have about 2,000 in the state, not the state, the nation.
And we don't anticipate, that program going away. As a matter of fact, within the current bill that's that's been passed by the House, it's moved forward to the Senate, that will ultimately probably get put into the action of the big beautiful bill, or whatever the term of it is. It does have a clause in there for REH that actually rolls, or it rolls back to the start. For example, the rule as it stands today, if a hospital was closed, for example, prior to, I think, December 27th, 2020, and you can't qualify, or you can't reopen as for emergency, now they're going to roll this back to actually January of 2014. So I think what we will see is, to David's point, as it stands today, I think a lot of hospitals have evaluated and gone through a lot of series of analysis to determine does REH make sense. Only 30 plus or so across the country have signed on. I do think rolling it back to 2014, we will see more, and quite frankly, what we will see is more of those facilities that have been closed, right? Closed in the past, Hamilton, Graceville, different facilities like that have been closed.
Well,
Previously, prior to that deadline, now have the opportunity to potentially reopen as a rural emergency.
and we're really not concerned about that. We're more concerned about what's our revenue stream, can we maintain that revenue stream? And then I have to agree with you. I think you got to stay the course here until such time the lobbyists do their thing and get the 340 program
Included.
under the REH
Yeah,
block.
yeah. But I think also you'll have, like David pointed out, you have some hospitals, they close. Like, for example, you have the Gaston County Hospital. They closed a number of years. So places like that, maybe opening hospitals up. And I think this would be huge for rural areas, because now you have, something that can be provided in those communities, that is not there.
And we see, to your point too, about continuing the course that we're on today, and we're seeing growth, right? And
Right.
We saw, we experienced that in 23, 24, now into 25. We're seeing some activity. We've got strategies in place, and then, sustainability plan. We're confident behind, standing behind it. That's the right track.
Well, the only thing I was going to add on the REH component of it, we're still very hopeful that this rural renaissance bill will pass through the Florida legislation, and it's not been determined yet. Part of that proposal is to increase the rural capital improvement grant that rural hospitals were getting, from 10 million to 25 million. And it's not been determined whether, rural emergency hospitals would qualify for that grant. And because, again, increasing that amount for the 21 or 22 rural hospitals there in the state of Florida is a significant increase in the capital grant that would be coming from the state to do that. So, again, I just make the point, I think, staying the course right now is probably the best avenue for us, because of some of these are still unknowns that, that I think would be detrimental when you really look at what you gain from the rural emergency hospital versus what you're going to lose. And we're, as David pointed out, we're seeing growth. It may not be the best determination for us right now.
Yeah, I think that, if it was our decision, that'd be great, but I don't think it's our decision. So what we need to do is bring our point home to the Board of County Commissioners on what we think.
Sure. And I'll close that discussion on just the statistics for us to keep in mind. When you look at 2020, and these are in your packet, right? You can see this trended information. 2022 year to date, right? I'm going to give a 4-year kind of snapshot. 2022 year to date, we had 36 admissions. So at the same time in 2022, 36 admissions. At the same time in 23, 53 admissions going up. At the same time in 24, 52, so kind of the same as what 23 was experiencing. Now in 25, we have 59 admissions. So my point is, that's inpatient.
It's growing.
That's moving up, right? So there is a need, community need for inpatient-related care. REH doesn't provide that.
Right.
The other, again, just to kind of quickly go through those additional ops excellence items. Again, I'm going to share this next month with the board, share the progress that's been made on those. Again, we talked about the clinic. We are looking at also mental health related services as well that can be provided in the clinic setting and or in the hospital from the IOP standpoint, or not referencing there.
Are you looking at that as telehealth?
Potentially, Bill, or just really if we have a provider that can provide on site, we can do that as well. We're looking at it in the clinic setting and or usually in the outpatient setting here in the hospital, call it the outpatient program. So we're evaluating those services, and we'll continue to evaluate that. But again, I want to keep bringing updates to the board as we look through that. One of the other items that was in the regulatory report too relates to revenue cycle. I know we talked about this last month, Kristen, around improving that patient claims rejection rate. And I know that was an item they had placed in the report, and we're working with TrueBridge, and that's the vendor that provides revenue cycle for the hospital. So again, working with them to track and trend that to ensure that, are there ways that we can improve and will meet the industry standard as far as what's required there, or should be required there as far as claim rejection. We are looking to strengthen our patient insurance verification process. I know that was something that was pointed out as well, and looking to, I'm going to bring bullet points for these as we move forward. Again, implementing consistent point of service patient cash collection methods. Again, I know there's efforts within ER and other areas where it is a little challenging, but looking for more consistency around the policies that we have in place there as well. And then, of course, identifying that Medicaid eligibility partner. We had a partner in place, or attempted to put a partner in place a few years ago. We'll reevaluate that, and that helps patients, uninsured patients, potentially qualify for Medicaid and or other forms of insurance.
So how do we shore that up as far as even in the emergency room? I know that they're already taking care of people, but we still have the insurance validation process. How do we try to tighten that up?
Yeah, it's a challenge there. Again, patient presents, care is provided. There are attempts to obviously ensure that, or is the patient insured? There's the registration process is what I'm getting to, John, about collecting that information from the patient and or post the patient's care, right? Is there a copay involved? If there's there's no copay involved, is there no insurance? And again, that's where it gets a little challenging because you don't, at that point in time, necessarily know the associated charge fully yet through the charting process and so forth. So within the ER, I will say it's challenging, but we're continuing to try to find the best practice to figure out how to try to ensure that.
Let me ask it a different way. What do you have to do to validate the person's insurance is valid right on the front end? Is it a phone call? Is it?
There's ways of scanning. There's ways of there's technology out there that you can attempt to validate. But once care has been provided, that's when that process is sustained.
But they can go in parallel. They can go in parallel. If you have an admissions, and I'm not running the hospital, but if it's an admissions clerk there, that admissions clerk make that call to find out if that insurance is valid. All it is calling the information line identifier, right?
Yeah.
Do we do that right up
Yeah,
front?
we have Heather here. And also, before Heather speaks.
Heather's not here 24 hours.
No.
a day.
Heather.
She should be,
I was
huh?
gonna say somebody is.
Somebody is, and Heather supervises that unit.
Yeah.
You got technology and so forth, and one source and different.
One source.
I'll let you
Just
speak
go
on that.
ahead.
Yeah, we use one source mainly. There's also a Medicaid website, that you can actually, if you have the person's social security number and date of birth, name, you can check that, and we try to do that on every self-pay. And then from the point of service, if they don't catch it, the next level is the admissions supervisor. She goes behind every day and checks. I go behind her. So there's 3 levels.
And I just want to say this also. If anybody comes to the hospital, they will be seen regardless of their ability to pay.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's
the bottom line.
I want to put that out there because,
You can't hold up that service.
you can't.
We
can't
understand that.
yeah, we can't.
But we do want to understand the administrative side of the equation.
Yeah, got to be done.
Which has nothing to do with the medical side.
Yeah. And the reason why I say that because sometimes people may call and complain, hey, I got insurance to pay. I said, hold up, you're gonna see you regardless.
That's right.
Come on in. So I just want to, Bennett, this is recorded. I want to make sure I put that out there.
But again, that's not the point.
No.
The point is the
Yeah,
administrative side.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a point that we all should know.
Yeah, but people complain and feel like if they don't go back there quick enough, that they don't want to be seen because of insurance. But I just want to make sure we clear it up because I got a call on Memorial Day coming back from a funeral, with that question. So, but we have 3 stages that we check that, in the ED, and it's kind of difficult in a way because when a person coming in sick and all of that emergency, we're not thinking about about the insurance piece on that. So we have the treatment piece and we have the administrative piece that we have to make sure we tighten up. We have 3 areas that we work on.
I think one source being the technology that again, there's always ways. You look across the industry. That's where you have your highest, typically, that situation, your highest uninsured, your highest Medicaid population, underinsured population that runs through. That is the challenge there. It's what I meant earlier about, it's to shore that up. Processes are in place, technology is in place. Are there always ways to improve it? Yes. And we're trying to work through that and identify that.
Well, and to Mr. Berry's point, there's really 2 aspects well, actually 3. Caring for a patient is the main thing. And the second thing is verifying if they have insurance and if they're active with that insurance. And then the third component is for those people that truly don't have insurance, how do you get them signed up on something? And that's where being able to go back and look at, does this person qualify for Medicaid? Can we get them on there? Historically, Medicaid would go back so many days. There's discussions about shortening that time period that you could actually retro bill for a service once they qualify. But there's those components that really need to flow to improve, the overall revenue cycle process because, just from experience, you'll have an individual that maybe their Medicaid plan changed. Maybe they went from one plan, Sunshine to some other plan. Well, it's making sure, and that patient may show up and say, yeah, I have Sunshine. We check Sunshine, they're not on there anymore because they changed to AM Best. And so, but they're now on AM Best. Making sure that we get that corrected, but then following up for those patients that truly don't have insurance, how can we get them qualified in some way?
Who's responsible for that, to go back and see if they qualify for Medicaid?
We don't actually have a Medicaid qualification, but we do have a financial aid application. And anybody that shows up that truly is self-pay, we send an application that way.
Now, that's going to be very important. That's why we're going to work on this Medicaid eligibility, because even with the new bill, you know, the big, beautiful bill, you know, Medicaid is being looked at, the cuts in Medicaid. And also they begin to look at removing certain people off if they don't recertify within a certain time frame. Right now, the rules are kind of loose. And so that's really going to put a lot of more people that was on Medicaid, they're going to be uninsured. Now, the state of Florida, being that the state of Florida did not expand Medicaid at that time, you know, I think we'll be okay from a lot of people getting cut off right away. The issue that we'll probably have is people with the recertification piece, because right now, it's a little likes in a way, you know, be recertified, but I think they tighten up that rule. And so a lot of individuals, they don't pay attention. They're going to be off Medicaid, so when they come in to be seen, they think they got Medicaid, and they're going to be off. We got to have a system working on getting back on.
Do we help those people that we give this form to? Do we have people that sit down with the person that you give the form to so they understand the information that is necessitated to fill it out?
Yes, our admission supervisor does that, and the application is actually easier than it was historically, and that is through guidance from the National Health Service. Get us that guidance.
But we're not asking them to put their hands on any computer or anything electronic.
No, we are not.
It's, okay, we're either transcribing or they're writing.
Yes,
Okay.
and we follow up with phone calls and, you know, encourage them to bring the information, everything that's required.
So this is something, a lot of work we'll be doing in this area, because just to foresee, you know, the things that will be coming with the Medicaid cuts, to help the individuals in this community, you know, like you said, to help them transfer.
That recertification process is going to be key. That, see a lot of folks falling off that roster. And last couple comments I'll make, once there's other questions, is, you know, cash on hand for the organization is just under 61 days cash on hand. So continue to maintain a healthy overall cash position. And you can see that in the balance sheet. You can see that on the indicators, financial indicators that we have as well. You'll see that trended for the past 12 months. And then days in AR, accounts receivable against current receivables, those have improved as well. And there's always continue to focus in that area, always ways to improve that. You know, staying on top of that as well, looking at all areas to improve. So that's all I got.
Thanks, David. Any questions for David? Okay, thank you. Mr. Walker.
I have my report here. I know at the last meeting, there was some talk about protective health, regional education policy. I think the board didn't want to approve it unless I signed it here. So it's signed. So this is a policy that, you know, it's a HIPAA breach notification rule policy that we have to have anywhere as a hospital. And so this policy was created, you know, in order for that there. It's the key. I think we emailed it out to us, so you should have it in your packet also. So we want approval for this particular policy. Like I said, it was presented at the last board meeting, but I hadn't signed it, so the board didn't.
So this is an action item?
Yeah, that's an action item.
All right. Does everybody get a chance to look at this? David, just tell us where you got the form from.
Yeah, so Heather created the form, and usually we kind of, this form is a form that we put things in here, you know, that relates to HIPAA, you know, so we kind of went to the website, I think HSS website that governs the HIPAA breach notification policy, kind of develop that policy part of that.
Pretty much straight from the site.
Straight from the HIPAA guidelines? Was another organization have this similar policy and we pulled it from there, or
This is federal.
federal? Okay.
So it's a breach portal required HHS called OCR requirement. So it's in the package, but usually every organization has to have this in place.
Mhm.
So this is something you found when you were going through the IT assessment.
Right.
Can you give me an example of how this happens?
Simple how that works.
Okay, so this is a policy that we need to have in place if someone's protected health information is breached. So, and there's several incidences in here. And it also takes out, like, for example, if information is being shared for continued care, then obviously that's not a breach. But if, like, the computer is left up. let's say
What?
A computer. Just say my desktop is left over with information on there. You come in my office, you know, just say you're visiting me, and you see the patient data. You know, that's a breach.
that.
You know, so anything like that is a breach. Anything to go out, the person's eyes should be on there, even working in different units. You know.
So if you have a meeting, if you have a person's record open, and I walk in, okay, and I'm still on the other side of the desk, I can't see your screen or anything like that, that's considered a breach?
No.
No.
Okay,
No, if you were to access that person's medical information.
and how would I be able to access it?
Well, let's say David stepped out of the room and you went around and sat at his
Yeah,
desk and you
yeah.
started looking at it.
All right. I said,
But he wouldn't know about it, nobody know about it.
When he came back in, he might.
Yeah, but it could be also, it could be also, if I sent that information to you.
By accident.
By accident, you know, yeah, that's a breach. You know.
We've seen situations where somebody has a laptop or a tablet with information on it, and they leave it in the car, and the car gets broken into. That's a breach. Even it doesn't have to be electronic. It could be a file. Could have a file open on your desk, and somebody, you have a meeting, and somebody walks in and sees this file, reads the file.
Sorry.
So there's all kinds of stuff.
Sorry. And when I was married, I was out of town. Someone called me and told me my husband at that time was in this hospital. And I called to see whether or not he was actually in this hospital. That information couldn't be given to me.
And so sometimes if somebody
Mhm,
calls
mhm.
and say, my husband is here,
Mhm.
if we say, oh yeah, he's here, he's down,
Uh-huh,
you know, with
uh-huh.
chest pains,
Uh-huh.
you know, that's a breach.
Yes, that is right. I didn't know something.
Yeah,
Mhm. There is a code. I didn't.
The PIN code, right?
Yeah,
Or did
yeah.
the PIN code. It's-
I didn't have it, and he didn't give it, which was fine.
So the nurse's station has the ability to access the PIN code to check it, or how do y'all validate the fact that if I call in and I give you the PIN code, that it's the right one?
The patient, when they get admitted from admissions, they come with a packet of information, but it has that code.
Mm.
Admissions room, and you have to ask the patient if it's okay.
That's right.
And if they have the code, you have to
Mhm.
ask the patient if it's okay for us to give X individual information request.
Exactly.
So if I
they have
call,
the code and they say no, I don't want him to know, then I say sorry.
so if I call in and want to get some information or ask the nurse's station how that patient's doing, I have to give this code. Now, the nurse's station or the person receiving the call has to be able to validate that PIN code is correct. They input it, and then at that point, it says yay or nay.
No, so they would put you on hold, they would walk to the patient's room, they would look at the code, verify that the patient, get your name, verify that the patient gives us permission to give their information to you, and then if they do, with that code and give your verification of the patient, then we would go back to the
Courtney, that's exactly how it was done with me.
And then if they say, no, I can't get it, sometimes the people on the other end get belligerent.
That's right.
I
They get
understand.
mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can't do anything about it.
That's right.
So basically, this form is codifying what the HIPAA requirements are for the hospital, and then also the remedies in the event of a breach. But we already do this stuff, but we needed it in a policy form, and that's
Uh-huh.
what this is, guys.
Yeah.
It's a policy form for everything. But
I
I think what we
understand
really
that.
need to move forward with is, if there is no further discussion,
Yeah.
we would like to have somebody,
I make a motion
Motion.
to.
okay, second? Okay, motion second. Any other discussion? All approve? Any nays? Okay, it passes unanimously.
So Heather, this is the current volunteer policy, right? That we correct. Yes, very good. Very well.
All right, David, you got another one now?
Yeah, I got two more. So the volunteer policy, we didn't have a policy, but we had forms.
That's right.
The first one was volunteer, and I know, Ms. Willis had some conversation with Heather about, doing a policy. We're working on a policy as well. Now, we need approval for this policy, but I may bring it back, 'cause I may add some things to it with DHR, Assistant HR, which is our human resource department. They're doing another second look over it, so just maybe some formatting stuff they may want us to put in the policy as well. So I probably just need approval, based on some changes that DHR would have. And then we'll share it.
So we didn't have a volunteer policy previously, so this is brand new. Okay, so everybody have a chance to take a look at this? Okay. Any discussion? Anybody want to make a motion? Motion? Second?
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the next policy is education and mandatory requirements. This is something that we require anyway, but we don't have a policy with it. And we noticed that also doing our review of our IT risk assessment. So what we did is that when a person get hired, they have to do all these particular trainings anyway, so they do like an acknowledgement form. But we don't have a policy saying that they can do that, so we just want to make sure we have a policy for it.
Courtney, just wanted to ask you a question on this. I remember one of our other meetings, we had something about we were going to change something because there was some tests, blood tests, or some other tests that we had to do for anybody that was coming in.
Yes, that was employee health, so that was like the PPD and.
Yeah.
And they were checking out, so we used to give an injection and
Right.
then come back and have a read. We
Right.
already did that, we added it in.
Okay.
We all approved it.
All right, so that's
Just do it with blood draws.
beautiful. Okay. I wanted to make sure that was not part of this, that it was already done. Okay, great. All right. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at this one? Anybody want to make a motion or a discussion? Okay, second?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed? Unanimous.
Information item, just so you know, EMS, there will be an EMS workshop on June 5th at 6 p.m. at the county commission meeting. This workshop is talking about the models of EMS here. So they want to get some public input. That meeting is June 5th at 6 p.m. Yeah, it's at the annex, yeah, it's at the county commission meeting. Also, we have a
Sorry, was that the workshop or just the regular meeting?
No, it's going to be a workshop.
Workshop,
Yeah,
right.
6 p.m. June 5th at 6 p.m. So that gives some time for some input. And I would like to recommend all the board members, if you could make that meeting, please do. It's very important. EMS is very important out here. So your input is very appreciated. Florida Department of Health reached out to some of the rural hospitals about a pediatrician having some having some interest in working in rural communities. So I sent my information to him, said, hey, let this person reach out to me. We did correspond with the pediatrician, and we have a meeting set up next Thursday with her, just to gauge her interest about, coming to this area here. And then if we can get her to come to this area and work with the hospital, I think it'd be very important, because we don't have a pediatrician here in the county. We're still looking at opportunities to try to recruit providers, to come to this area. One of the things that, our roadblocks is the instability of the organization in a way, because of, the county, maybe, looking for a partnership. So most people want to know, will I be around if I can make this investment? And so I'm telling them, if you're working in the clinics, the clinics would be unfazed by a lot of this stuff, but we want to grow our clinics here. So if this pediatrician checks all the boxes, of course, we'll set up a meeting with her and Dr. Conrad, and maybe get down to visit, and set up some meetings with the board members as well.
I've been in contact with Stephen Etchen and Cutler that owns the Gibson. They have a lot of rental properties, and they're interested in helping us for providers that want to come for the weekend, pick up shifts, or your pediatrician, and helping us with supplying them somewhere to stay. So I'll get with you more about that.
Yeah, please do. That's very important. You know,
Yes.
Bill Sessions was at the Team Franklin meeting, I think Monday.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, giving a presentation. Housing was one of the big issues.
Right.
So that's very important, because we often lose staff. We're going to say a lab person that took the job, but couldn't find a place to stay, and she went back where she's going. And so it's very difficult to find staff. So that's a great win for us. And that's something that
Yes,
we
it
can,
will.
In the
Yes,
future,
it will.
as the hospital begin to, as we get more solid, we want to may want to think about maybe buying a house or something
Yes,
like
sir.
that.
I agree.
Here, so we can begin to house people temporarily until they get on their feet to find something, and that will help out. So yeah, Kristen, we definitely get together on that. In the meeting in June, I would like for the board members, I know there was some conversation at the last meeting about service line growth opportunities. Our new fiscal year starting October 1. So you all can just put some stuff together on paper, and I want to dedicate maybe 30 minutes, the next board meeting, to talk about service line opportunities, then we can go and do some due diligence and look at the data and see if those service lines will grow here in this area. There were a lot of different discussions, but I really want to dedicate a meeting, part of a meeting, to talk about that. And so in the June meeting, please, jot some things down. We talked about our time and attendance system. Right now, we're with a company called Time Tracks, which is part of our True Bridge partner. Time Tracks and True Bridge are breaking up. True Bridge is more of a partner called Paylocity. Paylocity, they don't want to offer us a time and attendance system. They want to do the whole payroll stuff for us and all of that. But we have Decision HR, our current PEO company, that does that. Time Tracks will contract with us directly, for $9,600 per month, not per month, per year. DHR, Decision HR, which is the PEO that the employers are governed by, they have a system that integrates with their system called Timeco, and their charge is like $5,000 per year. So we probably would go with Timeco, because Timeco is integrated with the DHR platform that the employees they're not part of anyway. I talked about the Doug Kramer Healthcare Scholarship. At the next board meeting, I will give the update on 340B first audit. That audit was very, very detailed. It was very stressful on the staff here. The Brewing Company, which has been guiding us with the help of our 340B process since the beginning, since I became CEO. Not CEO, since the line came before the line that was got 340B on board. I was CEO before mine. So I just wanted to but anyway, we got, they had no findings, which was very good, for a small hospital, the first couple of years in it. They did make some recommendations about our policies and want us to keep those up, per se, but at the next board meeting, I'll share that with the board, we'll go through it. But I was very pleased, with our staff, Dr. Alyssa Kramer, she's a consultant with this Brewing Company, and Wes Jones, our pharmacist, Susie, Courtney, Heather, Sam, the team, as well as David Bonner, Bowling, with this audit, because the audit was very, very detailed. They looked at everything to see if we were misincorporating any 340B money, if we misincorporated any discounts there, where we, patients that we're giving 340B, did they qualify for it? Because sometimes people have an idea that anybody that comes into the hospital will qualify for 340B, but it's what the clinic-based, outpatient-based programs here. And also what we'll do we'll have Brewing Company or a list of somebody that from there come and give an update to the board. What is 340B? So the board can understand that. Because we say that a lot, but just to make it plain. Sometimes we use these words and takes a while to kind of understand, you know, the 340B process here.
Who does the audit for 340?
HRSA.
Who?
HRSA.
Okay, is that audit available for our perusal?
Yeah. We'll give the results. I'll give you the results at the next board meeting.
The report date?
Yeah, the report, yeah.
Going back to another thing, the recommendations for other activities, hospital-related activities, y'all are going to lead that discussion, Alliance to lead that discussion.
Yeah. I'm gonna, Ryan will lead that discussion. We want to make sure that we, get, what the board is saying, and then we need to do some data research on it. Because anything you do here, you want to make sure you do a database. Now, some programs that you may bring into the hospital, for example, like DEXA. DEXA is something that you want to bring here. We may not make a lot of revenue off DEXA, but then it will help your mammography. Because most women, sometimes when they have a mammography exam, they have to have the DEXA. So well, you want to look at those things. What's the value added? When you begin to bring these programs in. To the community. Also, lastly, I had an opportunity to participate in Becker's healthcare CEO leadership exchange, as well as Becker advisory call. Becker is it's a healthcare news organization. So that's where you get all your healthcare news from. And so they invite different CEOs to talk about different issues. On the last call, the CEOs specifically we talked about the different cuts, and the big beautiful deal with Medicaid. There's a lot of hospitals around the country, that will be hurt bad by the Medicaid cuts because some of them are 6-8% reliant on Medicaid, to take care of the hospital. And these are big, huge hospitals. So, fortunately, we're not in that situation yet. So we talked about a lot of different things, sharing different ideas. CEOs, approximately, just finding out what they do and what we're doing as well. The next meeting date is June 26, 2025. I also want to know, I should have mentioned when David Bowling was doing his presentation, we are working on a board request from Ms. Willis about the financial request that she requested for the hospital. So we're working on that, with that for. Okay. All right.
Anybody have any additional questions for David?
Yeah, I have one. I got asked by a couple individuals about Louis' presentation. Was that at the last meeting, commission meeting? Was that presentation ever given to us?
I didn't get the presentation. I just got off the website.
Are you talking about the Board of County Commissioners presentation?
Yeah,
We have it. I have it.
Yeah,
I have it.
What I'm asking is, Louis came in and did a presentation on the two ambulance,
That was at the Board of County Commissioners
yeah.
meeting. Yes.
But was that ever presented to us prior to that being
No.
done?
No.
That's how I answered.
Yep.
Okay? I answered it, did not.
Did not.
And they said they couldn't understand why that one came before them prior to being discussed with the board.
And I guess, I'm not going to say it, I wasn't involved with a lot of the conversation there. But normally, what normally could happen also, they can get the presentation, they can bring it to the hospital board, then the hospital board review it, per se, then the hospital, then they take it to the county commission, per se. But I think they were just looking at different models, what would work, for EMS at that time, because of the time crunch as well. But no, we didn't get it.
And you're fully aware of what occurred
Oh, yeah.
the following day, I guess, that Friday, with regards to the three ambulances.
Yes,
right?
yes, I am, because I got a call, that, and let me just tell you.
Is the board aware of it?
No, the board is not aware of that, but we can't go into
Too
too
That's
detail.
right.
We can discuss at the risk management meeting, about that, but it's just that we'll get a call, EMS vehicles, one was out of the county, one was in the Weems, and the other ones were getting, some service, right, James? Yes. If I'm not mistaken, you come up, and then there was a call at Elevator Point, and then it took about an hour,
Hour and 29 minutes.
hour 29 minutes too.
First got the call, the first call came out, I'm sure
First call came out with,
Excuse me, though, excuse me, you don't have to go into it if it's something that you want to do at a different meeting. I mean, I don't need that explanation now, I just want to make sure the board hears it in whatever environment.
and what we can do also, we can, we can ready to have a risk management closed door session also, we can just tell all the board and just, what happened. So James, just stick around for that, and we'll let you go first before we let you go.
Well, we're also looking at a EMS workshop. So, if we want to,
You need to be prepared for this one.
yeah, well, that's what I mean. I think we should.
Yeah, you got to make your what's known, that's all, about, the county, because this is a huge county, and we want to create access to care. And when you need EMS, you want EMS to be there.
Big
I
and
think I was
only,
very clear about my standpoint at the last BOCC meeting.
only three ambulances in a big county. But we are so much better off than we were when I dispatched. I shared that before. We had two, and in the middle of the night, 911 would ring, and one would be in Bay, and one would be in Leon. This person on the phone is very sick, and I could not tell them that. All I could say was, they're on their way. So yes, we are better off. We have improvement, a ways to go, but we are so much better off than what we were. So I'm this hospital's cheerleader. I don't want to sound as if I don't think that we need to come up in some areas. Of course we do. Hospitals in Tallahassee and Panama need to come up. But listen, I can't say it enough. Our employees and what we have going on here is a jewel for this county. Now I said it.
We expect you at the workshop.
Well, it was good, because she had experience with two ambulances back then.
That's right.
Experience, and then we experienced it.
It was very.
Yeah.
Let's discuss this later, okay?
Yeah.
All right, that's everything for you?
That's everything, yeah.
All right, we're going to move right along. We're only about 10 minutes behind the line update. Thank you, Michael.
Hey, Vice President, Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Recognized.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. No, please. I thought we were. Yeah, that's all right. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's
Do-
okay.
We can take a break if you want to take a break.
I want to share something with the board. I won't be able to stay the whole meeting today.
Okay.
And I think it's very important for the board to hear this.
All right. Can we get through Mr. Walker, and then we can?
Of course.
You can,
Of course.
Have something to say?
Of course.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
I'll be quick.
Michael.
And
Sorry.
just a couple things, and that I wanted to highlight. And David Walker mentioned this as on the 340B audit. We talked in the fall about rolling out some of our consultant partners that work with our hospitals and being able for them to start coming periodically to the board meetings to explain what they do in the background sometimes for the organization. So we're scheduling. I know David Bowling is working on scheduling a number of these individuals, whether it's Jason Prokovic with the 340B, coming in, trying to explain to the board what 340B is, what that involvement is. When the cost reports are completed, we'll bring those consultants that work and develop the cost reports and explain to you what a cost report is, what's the importance. And then it's an effort to continue to enhance, the board's knowledge of what goes into operating the organization. A couple things I did want to mention that we are currently working on, and some of you may have met Chris Schmidt, whether it was at our retreat or
here at times that Chris has been here. Chris is putting together a quality council, and that's made up of individuals from all of our organizations that will get together and talk about best practices, help each organization improve their quality reporting, looking at some of the key indicators that we all have to report on, and what are important for our organizations, and how using best practices, and you'll hear us talk about this a lot, and David mentioned it in the financial. What can we take from best practices of other organizations or that's out there in the industry to be able to pass that knowledge to all of our organizations? I know we have the Quality Council, and actually last night, today, we were working on, a compliance. We're all required to have compliance officers and compliance programs, but how can we utilize and tap into the skill sets of individuals that are at our hospitals that can assist other hospitals, so we're not reinventing the wheel all the time from organization to organization. I know you probably all have received our newsletter that we started sending out every 2 months, and we're trying to highlight, years ago, and I've been with Alliant long enough to remember when we used to do the newsletter, it'd be 80 pages long, and so through work we've narrowed that down, trying to just highlight some areas, and each month we're also going to try to highlight our hospitals and some of the great things that they're doing, because as we talked about new service lines, we can gain a lot of information from other organizations on their success and sometimes their failure in bringing a new service line on. And an example is in Breckenridge, they've just embarked on a whole oncology program through their infusion services, and I was there Tuesday night. And they have 4 or 5 patients that were typically having to travel from their place 45, 50 miles to get chemotherapy, and how they're starting to bring that to the rural community to be able to do some of that. Now, some of these things may not be appropriate for every organization, as we talked about. It has to make financial sense. But what can we be doing to enhance our services there? The other thing, as I mentioned earlier, we continue to monitor both on the state and the federal level some of the changes that are happening and how that may affect our organizations. Again, to better prepare us for the future. So that was just a really quick update on some of the things we at Alliant are doing, and we're already starting to plan for our upcoming next year, our retreat, and certainly we'll start setting out some of that material. We also are looking at sometime here in the fall of bringing our CEOs and CFOs to, and possibly CNOs, having a just group meeting with them to be able to pass on some, again, enhancing and help them in their day-to-day operations of the organization. So be happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Okay. Multi-view, I know I wasn't here last month when that was presented. That is a system that currently right now our hospital, as I mentioned in Breckenridge, has multi-view. I'm privileged to be a part still of Northwest Florida and Chipley, and going through that installation aspects of multi-view there. I personally see tremendous value in that program. One of the things some of our hospitals struggle with is being able to put financial information in a format that's easy. And I'll use Northwest as an example. Northwest is using a Excel-based spreadsheet that has been around for 20 some years or so. It's so outdated. it's taking the CFO there probably 2 to 3 days just to enter the information that's coming out of CPSI into a format to be able to do that. It also enables, our staff to automate, I would say, purchase requisitions and how those things are processing. But the key thing is being able to drive the information that's currently in our CPSI system and to put that in a format and to make it useful and beneficial to continue to improve the operations of the organization. And, I will say this, it's key that I'm seeing in the implementation stages of making sure that everybody that touches that system, and there will be multiple people in this organization if the board decides to go with this, that are going to have to make sure that they're educated, trained on how to use the system. And it's with any system. You can buy, and it's been a frustration my whole career when you implement any new system, making sure you're getting what you paid for out of that system. Because so many times you'll have, you put it in there and it has all these capabilities, but are you using those capabilities? And that's where, I think David Walker, David Bowling, Jason Bonner will be able to make sure that we're getting full advantage of that system, because it does us no good to spend whatever we're going to spend on the system if we're not taking advantage of it. And the other key thing is that, I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but to have the people that are that are access it, making sure they're trained to do that, and making sure that they're using the system also. Happy to answer any other questions. Like I said, I'm learning, both of you, because of my involvement with the Chipley Hospital. But the value that I see personally that will help me get timely financials, get more up-to-date information, to be able to look concurrently through the month of where we are. Because, again, I know speaking as a hospital CEO, one of the frustration things is not, you go through the month and you have a feel that you're doing this way or that way, but you really don't have the numbers to be able to support what you're thinking. This will help you make decisions throughout the month on how you're operating.
Mr. Kozer, you have one hospital that has this system in place, right? And you're working on a second hospital that's putting it in place.
We're going through the implementation.
So
right
we're gonna learn off of your issues and get a report from you as how that training is going. Are the employees able to access the system to its fullest, and is it really providing and producing the information that they really need at that hospital in a timely fashion? So we're gonna take our cues from you as far as how it's going with those hospitals.
Well, and like I said, because of my still involvement with Chipley, I'm going to be intimately involved in that implementation aspects of it. So I should be able to come back to you and say, this is what
And we have
this
time
is
to
what
make
we
this.
had.
We have time to make this decision, right? I mean,
We also have to address sustainability, right? And in this situation, Alliant is on a month-to-month contract. Until we've got some clear direction of where we're going, it's a little early to invest in something like this because we don't have anybody to maintain that system if Alliant is not here tomorrow. So I keep that in mind as we weigh this situation.
Yep, Mr. Barry, there are plenty of things, there are plenty of balls that are up in the air because we don't have direction at this point. So you're right. That's another one of the balls that are up in the air, and that's why I asked that we have time to make this decision, because we need time to make the decision to see where all these balls fall, and then we can move forward with our plans, because we can't really do a plan moving forward until we know where we stand. And I agree with you. Any,
I agree also.
anything else for Mr. Kozar? No? Okay. Ms. Groom, you wanted to say something? Okay.
This is from someone whose father was here at the hospital in our swing bed um, program. She just wanted to take a minute to give Weems Memorial Hospital their just due. My dad was admitted there to their swing bed rehabilitation program, and to say we were blessed during this trying time in our lives' journey would truly be an understatement. From the ER staff to those wonderful, uplifting, and caring angels disguised as nurses, we felt at home and at ease. Courtney Alfred is the bee's knees, and her staff reflects her shine. You're definitely built for the role you're in, and I can't thank you enough for everything. Thank you, Pastor Walker, for your genuine support and service you provide to this community. You're showing in action that you care, and it does not go unnoticed, as the team you've put into action is remarkable. Miss Mary, Miss Lily Ruth, Londa, you ladies are all that and more. Jeff and Steve from PT, thank you for assisting Dad effortlessly while talking and sharing stories with my dad. Y'all hands never stayed idle and quickly helped him regain his strength. It's things like this from the community, and they put it on the internet so the world and God can see, so to speak. So I just wanted those of you that don't know that there are people that really appreciate the staff here at Weems and what they're doing.
That's a great statement, and I think that's something that you should probably forward to Mr. Walker if you don't have it already. That's something you should put up on our website. That's something we should celebrate, and we should definitely.
Can I add something to that, Mr. Zester?
Yeah, sure.
For a couple nights ago, one of my cousins, we've eaten snapper our whole life, and she didn't know she was allergic to it. She went into anaphylactic shock. EMS was there within 10, 15 minutes. She came to the hospital. I was on the phone with her. You guys took amazing care of her, and she just wanted me to thank you today, and I thank you because the staff was amazing. The ER was amazing. EMS was amazing. It was very scary. Her tongue was swelling up. You know how serious anaphylactic shock can be. So she just wanted me to please commend you for her care.
Wonderful.
It was awesome. I also had a lady reach out to me that works for Mark, Miss Kelly. She's one of his cashiers. She's come in multiple times with pneumonia, very sick. She said to please commend your staff, that you guys are doing an amazing job. So I want to add to that you guys are doing a wonderful job, and I appreciate it.
I love to hear that, because I think we have turned a corner, and you hear so many sad, bad stories from 10 years ago or whenever they came in, and we deal with them as well. If you haven't been to the hospital recently, we say try it again, because everything's changed. The staff has changed, management has changed, and this hospital has taken a different direction in customer service and client service. And I think this bears it out that we see that the community is starting to accept us, but they got to give us a second chance.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
I just want to say this, and this is going to be something that we're looking at. Customer service. I always have this in my staff. The patient is always right, even if you think they're not. Yeah. Even if you think they're not, they're always right. Now, we get, we try to bet 100%. We hadn't hit that yet. Now we do get complaints. We understand that. We try to address them as well. But oftentimes, we hear more about the complaint than the good stories. I was at the Franklin County School ceremony Tuesday night, and the gentleman behind me said, "Hey, Pastor Dave, I just want to let you know my dad was, my father-in-law was in the hospital. He's back up north now. You know, he's doing remarkably well. You all took great care of him. And so I want to just share that with the staff as well, because, you know, we hear this, we hear the stories, but I do get the calls, you know, like I did on Memorial Day, you know what I mean, that might explain, but we take them, you know, so whatever we do, we're trying to improve. You know, we're
As
going to
long as
be.
we stay transparent about
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah, we're just trying to prove what we're doing here at the hospital.
Yeah, celebrate the victories and put them up online so social media can also, people can also see what we're doing and that other people are appreciative of it, really.
We'll take a break, and we got a few more items before we join and go into the closed session.
Need a break?
It's up to y'all. I mean, it's up to the board members.
Let's take a vote on it. Who wants to take a break? Joanna? Who wants to power through? No, okay. Okay, we'll let you go. Okay. I'm gonna hold you hostage. All right, we'll take a break. 5 minutes. Back in, going to call this back in session, and I think the next up is actually me. I'm going to give an update on the Team Franklin County Housing Initiative. I was at the meeting yesterday. I provided a presentation to them on the analysis of healthcare and allied services in Franklin County. Part of my report, I'm just going to give you an executive summary, which talks a little bit about what I just the thumbnail of what I presented in slides to them. But I am on the committee basically that's doing a subcommittee portion on the healthcare. There are other subcommittees, housing under Gloria. She's with the Realtor Association. They also had ones from, I guess it was Water and Sewer. Billy Fuentes gave a presentation. We also had David Hughes did the academic and school systems, and Donnie Maddox talked about the airport. So these are the subcommittees that are working with Team Franklin, and what Team Franklin is a private and governmental partnership for the development of a property about 26 acres off of 65 behind the sheriff's office. And what that development is going to be is kind of an economic zone where there will be tax credits for the private industry that move there or develop there. The land will stay in trust, and they will be building a pole barn there for the buses for the school system, and also what they're looking to do is not private housing, but housing for critical access employees. So people that are teachers, nurses, people that work for Weems, and also people in the sheriff's department. And it will be working class, low cost housing. So it's a great opportunity, I think, for Franklin County to get this thing up and started. It's going to take time to get there, but we're working towards it because I think it's an important piece of the puzzle on, the chicken and the egg. Do you build a housing before employment or employment before housing? So, we're at that point where I think if we build it, they will come. And I think it will help the community greatly if we can have those critical access employees have some kind of housing opportunity here that's affordable. I mean, when you look at Apalachicola, 1 bedroom, 1 bath apartment is probably $1,200 if you could find one, because the inventory of them is rather limited as well. So I think this is going to be really great. I do, as the health person that's going to be dealing with this subcommittee, I'm sure I'm going to be tasked with additional things, and I think some of the things they wanted me to look into and provide to them beyond the information I gave them on Weems and our outpatient and EMS is they talked about private nursing home. They would love to bring that into the county. Substance abuse services, maybe we have to revisit our connection to the drug treatment programs here. And they were talking about a captive insurance program, which, that's an interesting beast in and of itself. But since I had an insurance background, I told them I could talk to them a little bit further about that and what that entails. But that's what I'm doing there. And if anybody wants to join in my subcommittee, I think I recruited poor David down here for the committee on a break. So if anybody else wants to join me in this.
Is this affordable housing or what's
well, we have HUD housing, but
The qualifications for income are so low that anybody that's working can't really get into that or qualify for that program. And market housing is too expensive, so there's a gap, and that gap is the working poor. And we really want to see that we can get housing in for the working poor. Now, they're talking about the first phase of this maybe being 10 houses and a number of them being rental units and the other maybe purchased. But even if they're purchased, the house would be purchased at a lower cost than typical market. But they wouldn't own the land. The land would still. I wore it out. The land would still. The land would. Oh. The land would still be owned by the trust, and that trust would stay intact. So, if they did buy a property within the zone that they're looking at, they would have to sell it first, right of refusal back to the trust, and it would be on some kind of a cost index kind of valuation, and then we keep the price low for the next people that we would sell it to.
Where's the seed money coming from?
Well, right now they're looking in a lot of different places for the seed money. We've got some seed money from Realty Association of Florida. We've got some money from them, but we're looking for private enterprise to also come in, and there's going to be tax credits, obviously, for the organizations that partner with the governmental operation.
No federal grants.
Not at this point. They are looking at all sources, however. Look like you have another question, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I have
Multiple questions.
multiple questions, but
We'll leave it at that?
yeah, I'll leave it at that right now.
Well, I hope so.
There's no financier standing at the door ready to take on this project, right?
No, at this point, no. That we're just getting our ducks in a row. We still have to get all our legal documents set up. We do have to move forward with actually the land. It's owned currently, but we'd have to rezone it. We'd have to do all our environmental and all the other reports and exams on the property as well. So I mean, we are really on an early stage in this. If you have any other questions, I'm going to drag you onto my committee.
Well, what's the projected date to try to get to this point where decisions can be made?
Well, I think the first steps is still got to be determining if we can change the zoning on the land, because without that, we can't move forward. We also have to look at it, how much wetlands are there, what can we build on, make sure there's no, protected species dwelling there. And you know the drill. That's the drill. That all has to be done, and so the soft costs are going to be, expensive. So we got to find funding for the soft costs to get those things done first, so that we can move forward on really plans for that property.
That's why I was asking. We don't have any finances.
Well, we did. I think we got some money from, as I said, the Realty Association of Florida. We're also working with Commerce Florida, which is a grant association. They came in and gave a presentation, so we may be able to get something through that organization. We've got our tentacles out in different directions.
Yeah.
Would you like someone to subcommittee? I'll put you on the spot. Would you like to join my subcommittee?
Maybe, we'll talk.
All right.
How far is this property from the airport?
Well, it's in East Point, behind the sheriff's office on 65.
Because I think that that's where the development's going to come as far as jobs are concerned. And you have to look at the distance with regards to transportation. If you've got something close, then you can come up with some secondary transportation for people. Otherwise, you're going to have to travel from over there to the airport, because I think that the airport's probably got the best chance of getting off the ground first.
Well, the airport's got a lot of things that they're looking at right now, so they gave a report on moving forward with the airport, and they're doing some great things over there right now. They really are. They're moving forward. They got programs for kids. They're going to build a drone. They're going to build a plane over
there, and they've done things that, I think they're leasing out a couple of at least one of the hangars to military contractor. They're trying to get the military more involved. They're expanding the airport runways to bring in larger planes. So a lot of stuff's going on there too.
Project Alpha is probably, if it comes off the ground, is probably going to be the business machine behind a lot of things that happen in this county. Because it's going to provide jobs, it's going to provide long-term situation. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that.
And Bill, just
I don't know if anybody stepped to the plate with some dough, so.
I think, politically, Bill Williams is the person that helped coordinating this. He's a former county commissioner from Gulf County, but he's very well politically connected. I think that he'll probably, going down the line, make some connections and to our legislative delegation on a federal level, to look at some different opportunities. So, very excited about this.
Yeah, it's an interesting initiative, so I will keep you updated on that as I proceed through. We usually have our meetings a couple days before this meeting, so it works out pretty well.
So it's once a month?
Well,
Yeah, once a month.
you might take this back to MHI, that's a corporation. They just put in somewhere around 1,100 units of affordable housing with the one up in North Carolina. And they might be a company that you might want to contact, see if they're interested in coming in. That's a publicly held company, privately held company that invests in things like this.
Thank you. So what public-private partnership?
Well, PP3, yeah.
PP3.
PP3s, yes.
All right. So we've got any other business that we need to attend to? I see you didn't have EMS on the schedule. He doesn't want to talk. James doesn't want to talk. We don't have any time for EMS right now, but
We don't have any time for you. You remembered it.
I'm going to give Hayes a few minutes in the risk management.
Okay.
Before equipment kicks off. All right. So does anybody else have anything for the good of the organization before we go into executive session?
All right. Close the meeting.